Welcome back to OpenLine, talking about something that is affecting too many people this year, the flu. We are separating fact from fiction. Happy to have with us Vanderbilt doctor, Dr. William Schaffner. He's answering your questions. We're streaming this live on our Facebook page. A lot of comments on our Facebook page and questions. Dot Tucker asks, can your illness be flu without having a fever?
Ooh, Dot, that's a very good question. And indeed, that can happen. Most cases of flu produce a fever. We all know that. But sometimes you don't have fever. That makes it a little harder to diagnose and can fake out the patient who thinks, oh, I can't possibly have flu because I don't have any fever. And they delay getting medical attention.
So I would not have known that. I thought you had to have fever if you had the flu. Now, that means I thought if you had fever, you're contagious. If you don't have fever, you're not contagious. So I'm wrong there too, right?
Not exactly, because most of us do have fever. And then the question is, how long should you kind of stay at home or sequester yourself, right? And the general rule is, once your fever goes down, give it a half day or a day, and you can go out and about, and you won't likely infect anybody else. But on occasion, somebody doesn't have fever, and they can't use that as a measure.
All right, here's a question I bet you get. Because I hear this, and I don't know. Vicky Ellis Warren says, I took the flu shot twice in my life and both times got the flu. Never had the flu since and have never had a shot again. So Vicky Ellis Warren, what do you say to people like Vicky Ellis Warren?
Right. So a couple of things. One is, we give influenza vaccine in the fall, and that's when respiratory viruses start up. And what usually happens is people get an inoculation, they get their flu shot on Monday, and Thursday they come down with a cold. And they say, I don't know where I got that cold, so they attribute it to the vaccine. Well, that's just false. And obviously, as I said before, sometimes you can have flu, genuine influenza, despite having received the vaccine, but you very likely had a milder case. And since then, Vicky's been lucky.
She's been lucky.
She's been lucky.
That is part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can just be lucky. Okay. Peggy Smith Bularis, and I hope I'm saying your name right, Peggy. Why are so many people dying this year within 24 hours of being diagnosed?
Well, most of those people are older. And we adults, what happens when we get influenza by and large, we say, oh, drat, I'm going to tough this out. And the next day they're still not better, and no, it's going to get better the next day because they don't want to go to the doctor. And by the time they get really sick, it's late in the disease, they've already developed the pneumonia, they come in, and then it may be just too late. So that's probably the explanation for Peggy.
They may have had it longer than 24 hours, but
yes.
they're coming in.
They're coming in
and
now.
then succumbing
right.
to the virus. All right, let's go to Lucy. Hello, Lucy.
Hey, y'all.
Hey.
Hey, I've got like 3 quick questions. You don't have to answer all of them if you don't want to, okay? But I heard on Fox News last week that they were doing a piece on Tamiflu, and they were talking about how bad Tamiflu was for children, that they were hallucinating with it, having severe side effects. My next question is, why baby boomers, and what virus is it that's going after baby boomers? And my third and final question was, I heard on NPR that they're developing a flu vaccine that's going to be universal, and hopefully in the next 3 or 4 years they'll have that. I'll take your comments off the line here. Thank you.
Lucy, thanks for calling as always.
So thanks for that. So let's just go through them one at a time.
Great.
So Tamiflu is a good medication, but it does have occasional side effects, and particularly in children, about 1% of them. It's not too common, but about 1% of those children can have kind of central nervous system excitement. They can get hyperactive, and some of them actually have delusions. And so that's nasty, and that's one of the reasons that pediatricians don't like to give it to absolutely every child. They kind of focus on the ones who are really, really sick. So pediatricians are balancing the good with the occasional side effect. So that's the Tamiflu story. Now, the virus hits, this year's virus, the H3N2, is hitting older folks, but also baby boomers. that's because baby boomers are getting older. And as they
Has anyone told them?
Probably not. But as they get older, they actually pick up, you know, this one is getting a little heart disease, this one has a little asthma, that one is smoking too much. And so they're picking up these conditions that predispose them to the complications. So that's probably the story there. And anyway, this year's nasty virus, it'll hit just about any age group.
It'll get any age group, yeah.
And then, of course, now this is exciting, the universal influenza vaccine. So what Lucy knows is that this flu virus mutates, it changes. And it changes on its surface. And so we create these proteins on its surface. So we create new vaccines to attack the virus on their surface. But that's the changeable part. And that's why we keep trying to have to chase the virus. But suppose there were a part of the virus that was constant in all of the strains. And right under this surface, there are proteins called the stem. And that stem is basically the same in all influenza virus strains. So there are researchers trying to make a vaccine that works, not on the surface, but against that stem. And if we had that, then we could have a vaccine that would protect against all those strains, and we wouldn't have to play vaccine roulette each fall to try to figure out which strains to put in the vaccine.
Interesting. Now
Wouldn't
that is
that be
very, yeah, that's
spectacular?
very interesting. And that is one of those things I hear all the time. Oh, was this year's strain included in the flu vaccine? And you're saying this year's was included.
Yes.
How often do we miss the mark? How often is it not included?
90% of the time, we're pretty much on target. But even when we're on target, remember, it's a pretty good vaccine. It still doesn't prevent each and every case of flu, even when we're on target. It happens to be the best that science can give us right now, and it's the one we ought to use because, as a clinician, I want my patients to have any protection that they can have against this nasty virus.
Let's go to Ken. Hello, Ken.
Yes.
Go right ahead. What's on your mind?
I'm 59 years old, never had a flu shot in my life, don't believe in a flu shot, and I don't remember the last time I ever had the flu. Maybe 35 years ago, possibly, when I lived in New York State. So I just don't believe in it.
All right.
Nothing against New York, though.
No. And he sounds like he's, well, what do you think?
So Ken's been healthy all his life, and what he doesn't know, Ken, what you don't know is you've been infected with the influenza virus several times, because the influenza virus will find us at one point, if not this year, then next year. We can do studies that show that. And what happened is that you actually were a dreaded spreader. You got the flu virus, you didn't get very sick, but for a period of days, because you had it, you were able to give it to Ben and your friends at work and others, and you didn't know that you were doing that.
Wow.
And that's another reason we recommend the influenza vaccine, because it reduces the chance that you'll give it to someone else. And there isn't anyone who wants to do that.
That is interesting. So it's likely he's getting sick, he just doesn't know it.
He was infected without getting sick, or he had just a light case. He thought it was a cold, but it was really influenza.
And so then the argument for getting the flu shot goes beyond just your own personal well-being. It is about keeping others healthy.
Now you get your public health degree, because vaccines do two important things. Obviously, they protect the recipient, but since these are communicable diseases, they also protect the people around the recipient, and the more we get vaccinated, the healthier the entire community becomes. Because there are people amongst us who are immune compromised, they can't get the vaccine. We protect them by all the rest of us being vaccinated, so it's harder for the virus to find the frail brothers and sisters among us.
Let's go to Joe. Hello, Joe.
Yes.
Go right ahead. What's on your mind?
I'm concerned because when I hear about the flu virus going around and it looks widespread around America, they show the states that have a lot of it's widespread in Tennessee, it's widespread in this state. Why can't we show the counties that where it's widespread? Because I think what you do is you start to minimize the concern. I know with me, and I work with 350 people, I only know 7 people in my business that have had the flu. So, but you're showing a map of widespread. Why can't they do it by county?
Break it down by county. It's true. The maps I see are more states. And right now, if the color is red, Tennessee is red. We're certainly impacted. I bet we could break it down by county. I just haven't seen that.
You could, but as the numbers get smaller, they get statistically less certain. And with flu, if it's in one county, believe me, it's in the next, because it's in generally a large region. You can't just cross the county line and say, oh, I'm ollie in free. It doesn't work that way.
He says he works with 150 people, I believe. 7 of them, I believe, and if I'm wrong, then let's just hypothetically say this. Company with 150 people, 7 of them are sick. That would indicate it's there, and your chances of getting infected are high, right?
Right, and these are all working people, so by and large, they're healthier. They're likely to be able to throw off the infection easier. But we wouldn't want it to get into a nursing home in that county, because it could go through that nursing home and cause a lot of damage.
So Mary Laird, and I hope I'm saying your name right, Mary, we have a caregiver who comes in to care for my medically complex grandson. He and I have both been vaccinated, the grandson and Mary, but the caregiver has not been vaccinated and will not get vaccinated. Does Tennessee have any regulations in this regard?
Tennessee does not have any regulations, but it is universally recommended that all caregivers be vaccinated. And the reason is patient safety. We never want one of us to give our influenza virus to one of our patients. So it's a patient safety issue. It is both a professional and an ethical obligation for all healthcare workers to be vaccinated.
Another question here on Facebook, Ms. Tucker. Does the flu make your chest rattle or wheeze?
It can indeed. Along with that cough, you're feeling just very, very tired and achy, and you just want to go to bed. It can do all of those things. And that's part of what the virus does, but a lot of those symptoms are our body fighting the virus off. That's the, if you will, the war that's taking place as we're trying to contain the virus.
Let's go to Brian. Hello, Brian.
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
Doctor.
What's on your mind? Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
I have a wondering. Is the virus many viruses that pop up independently every once in a while? Some of them lay dormant. Or is it just one virus every time the new year comes around?
So, Brian, that's a very good question. Tighten your seatbelt a little bit. There's a family of influenza viruses, so there are a whole bunch of variants. And these viruses, one may be more prominent one year, another the next. But when we say prominent, we don't mean the only one. Here in Tennessee, we know we have this H3N2, that's the dominant virus, but we have a bunch of others that are also causing illness. And if you want to take this one step further, you know these viruses change. Actually, there are influenza viruses of birds and mammals, and when they pick up the genetic capacity to infect humans, that's when a brand new influenza virus hits us and can cause an epidemic that circles the globe, which we then call a pandemic. So those are the rare major new influenza viruses, and they're introduced into the human population from animals, usually birds and pigs.
Yeah, so the bird flu. We all heard about the bird flu.
And then we heard about the swine flu.
Right, the swine
and
flu.
the reason we have those is that the genetic elements indicate that one of them originated from birds and the other one had elements of previous pig viruses.
And that's going to be more severe, likely, than one that's been around for a while.
Right, and that's because none of us have seen it before. We're all susceptible, and so the virus can make everybody sick.
Fascinating. All right, we're going to take a break. Continue to call in. There's the number, 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. Also, reading your comments on Facebook. Comment in the comment section there on our Facebook page, and we'll read some of them. Take a break. Be back right after this.